I have come back again and again to the moment I walked out of my last dance class. I barely remember the teacher, barely remember the class. I was in London meeting up with Bianca, an acquaintance from travel the summer before. It was March, but not cold. It was a ballet class. We left sweaty. I hadn't done my best in that class. I didn't give it my all. Like many a class, I pushed through with mild frustration at myself, tried to let go enough to dance with every bit of potential I felt latent just under the surface of my skin. Curiously, I remember leaving feeling all used up, content even. It was the perfection of the moment, beyond the trying. I engaged in the ancient ritual of studio hallway catch-up conversation, the casual interface between strangers who have just danced together for over an hour and are now experimenting with normal social interaction, what the other dancers' voices sound like. What do they say? How do they conduct themselves? We stood in the warm morning light, cutting through the high windows, pressed against the white walls of the hallway to let the trickling exodus of bodies through. The bodies gathering up their shed garments, muscle rollers, and empty water bottles, bodies desperately gulping from the public water fountain before passing through the door. Some turned around and uttered goodbyes, giving full-hearted and eye-crinkling smiles as if we weren't complete strangers. Then out they blew. We finally walked out of the building. Bianca had to be off to work. We parted ways. My partner Sam was waiting for me somewhere in the concrete block hell of cube-shaped art buildings. A complex which in several days would close and sit empty for the foreseeable future. Non-essential and tomb-like. I would bask in that after-class feeling as I walked to find him. No rush, no worry inside of me. Just aliveness, just the dampness of my clothes, the primed, full feeling of my muscles and joints, the bath of feel-good neurotransmitters, and the lasting afterglow of being able to drop into a class in a city overseas and feel at home. To sink into my body again. It wasn't my last class, technically. But it lives on in my memory like some kind of unrealized Last Supper. I have not learned a movement from a three-dimensional body since. Back in Athens, I now learn Zoom dance. I learn how to leave my body. I learn how to be digitally anonymous and consequentially invisible. My physical presence no longer matters. I am alone. My body used to borrow and lend without me even knowing. It would trade space, shapes, emotions with other bodies. What it created and what it did in the presence of others was never quite mine, and will never be possible alone. It had its own language. Now what I feel so viscerally is its muteness, its slow loss of fluency without practice. All of our bodies have been dislodged from the land of their native tongues and dropped in foreign territory. 6 feet apart spreads like a fucking ocean. Over Zoom, my body becomes an alien, relegated to its very own planet. As I sit here and try to describe to you how it feels to do the non-dance, I sit here in the same exact bardo I feel as I attempt to move. I struggle to describe it because it feels like worse than the absence of anything. It feels like a vacuum. The first descriptive thought that blooms out of the dark clouds swarming in my head gets sucked in, swallowed, voided out of existence in a sudden implosion. When I try to dance and this begins to happen, I threaten my body with hot crocodile tears, hoping the release of a bodily fluid will trigger a release of another kind of metaphysical liquid, the energetic grease of the real good dance. To exist like this is to be stuckening. Not stuck, but winding deeper and deeper, tightening in on yourself in a constrictive, continuous feedback. And yet sometimes the overwhelming process of stuckning gives way in momentary relief, occasionally catching me by surprise. When my body has exhausted itself in its hunt for remembered pleasure, I give up trying to find the way it used to feel. I'll throw myself into a spin and actually catch myself. I'll rise up, wiggle, a light in my eyes. It's pure joy. These moments come quickly, and they always encourage me enough that I lose sight of their reason for coming and start trying to dance again. Needless to say, it kills the moment. It is nearly October, but not cold. And it is of no relevance to me what that conversation I shared with those dancer strangers back in London, just before the apocalypse, was even about. It was the talk itself, the way we felt after we shared a sliver of time in which our bodies were breathing and moving together. We broke and carved space as one, battled the same reluctant tendons in our ankles, felt simultaneous joy and effort as we moved through sequences in unison. More importantly, we arrived on the other side. What we had and what we did was over and done. There was almost no need to speak. In the moment beyond trying, there was almost no need to speak.